The NAFTA Podcast.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
All right, NAFTA Podcast, we're back. This is, I think, episode 151. Woo! Malibu Rum. We got,
God.
I don't know if you guys remember this person, but Nick, welcome back.
Hey.
It's been a minute.
Can we get some cheers in the back? Can we get some cheers in the background?
Yeah, I got you. We'll add in the sound effects. Dude, been a minute. You were busy coaching, busy trying to lead some men to a couple of victories on the diamond. Unfortunately, you told me beforehand it didn't end where you wanted it to, but still probably a fun time. Sad to have the season end. I saw the senior day pictures. What's that like, having to say bye to kids that you've probably seen? I mean, have you been there 4 years? I feel like you have, right?
I've been the head coach for 10 years, yeah.
Holy shit. So this is nothing new to you. What is that like, though? It's kind of wild just to be like, all right, see ya.
It's interesting, man, because, I mean, we got hot at the end of the year, too. We were playing really well. And so this was a good group. I had a really good group of seniors. And just the whole team was, each team was a moment. I always use that line. It's like go-to line at the banquet.
Yeah.
And it's like, you never really get that group together again. This was just a really good group. Like, I always tell the kids, like, there was one year when I was coaching, when I was the varsity girls soccer coach, we were 3-17, and we lost 12 games by 1 goal. Like, and we were right there. Like, it was brutal. We just, 3-2, 4-3, 1-0, whatever. But, like, they never complained and they came to work every day. And, like, with these guys, it was the same thing. Like, we finished up 9-12. Like, we were 2-5, and we lost all 5 games by an average of 12 or 13 runs. Like, we got blown out, and they just kept working. And we obviously had a pretty decent run at the end. But this is a tough group to say goodbye to because they're just a good group of kids, nice kids. But as you say, all good things have to come to an end at some point. So whether it was Thursday or at some point in the state playoffs, that's how it goes.
So the thing I always find interesting is our podcast is composed of 3/4 of baseball players and 1 lacrosse player. And the lacrosse player is never very loud, but the one thing he's loud about is lacrosse. But I do find it interesting, and I have no stats to back this and no actual time frame, but when I was in high school, it did feel like baseball season's the shortest. Like, it's gone in a blink. Like, you only really get... I mean, Ohio might be a little different than Jersey, but in Ohio, you only get 6 weeks of baseball season, it felt like. Whereas soccer, I do remember it felt like it was 4 months long because you start conditioning in the summer and that type of thing. So you get both sides of the coin on that, too, from a coaching perspective. Do you feel like you have more time soccer-wise to figure things out than you do baseball-wise?
Yeah, at NJSIAA, they just shortened all of our seasons this year. We literally had a 6-week season, then we usually had an 8 or 9 week season. So it was pretty nuts. I don't want to get into that because it's quite a sore subject with all the coaches. But it was because you're playing all the time. Like, you're playing 3-4 games a week and everything. But dude, it's been so long. I've been waiting on a question for a month that I was telling them I can't wait because every time we recorded, it ended up being a late away game or whatever.
Yeah.
So I wasn't feeling too hot a month ago, so I decided to turn on an MLS game. Mm-hmm. I thought just because I was feeling shitty, I'd watch shitty TV. I was watching my attempted fandom of Nashville. Whatever they call it, whatever the hell they call themselves, the Sounders or whatever the shit it is. Yeah. And I text Dylan, I go, Dylan, John's playing for Nashville. And he goes, what? I go, yeah, his name's Dax McCarty, and he is John Whitaker. Jesus. And I started thinking about doppelgangers for all the guys. And I haven't really put too much thought into it since that moment. But I don't know if you had but I was like, dude, definitely, Dax McCarty's definitely John with short hair in high school back in the late 2000s,
Listen, so I just search this guy.
Former Red Bull guy, so shout out
Very
there.
much so. But one, man, it's how pasty I am that I look like I may be redheaded at times. I swear to God I'm not. Not that it matters. Redheads are fine in my book, but I'm not. 2, it's so funny that you asked this question or bring this up now because I'll take this guy 10 times out of 10 compared to a buddy of mine. We were trying to get into biking, and in New York City, there's a few different bike paths you can go down to, like Brighton Beach. You can go down to Coney Island and whatnot. So he sent me this picture of an ad for like the bike paths. Nick, I'm telling you, the guy on this ad had a helmet on and these like Oakley shades and looked like me plus 40 pounds.
Is it the one that Michael has for his photo?
Basically, yeah, those shades essentially. So, but he sends this to me with no context, and I think he was literally just saying like, hey, here's some maps that we can like take a look at and whatever. I literally just responded, if you're going to tell me I look like this guy, we're fighting. Like, I will fight you right now. To make matters worse, Alexis was sitting next to me on the couch, and I showed her the text that Ramiro sent me, and she goes, is that you? And I was like, I'm getting a divorce. This is terrible. Because, I mean, this guy did not look this great. So, but I'll take that.
She's seeing your future in 30 years. It's like, oh, my God.
Absolutely not. I'm literally running before this podcast to get away from that as best as possible. But I'll take Dax McCarthy I said Dax McCarty,
didn't I? Did I say, McCarty's the hockey player, isn't he?
No, it's a Dax McCarty, I think.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if I was...
You're good.
But yeah, Michael's a tough one. I couldn't think of Michael, and Dylan looks like one of the youth team players, so I wasn't really sure where to go with that one.
So I had an initial thought when you said Nashville for Michael, and then I just looked up Walker Zimmerman, and Walker Zimmerman is way too ripped for Michael. Like, sorry, Michael, I know you're
better
in the
jawline,
gym lately.
Big strong jawline too.
Exactly. Walker Zimmerman looks more like Thor than Michael could ever look like Thor, but just because Michael has the wild hair.
Should we say Zlatan just to piss him off?
No, I was going to piss him off more. I was going to say Kyle Beckerman, if you remember him.
Oh. Actually, you put a little dreads in there. That could put a little wax in there. Yeah. That could actually work.
Yeah. I think Michael is Kyle Beckerman of the pod. Damn.
Yeah, because Dylan's a tough one.
Well, it depends. I still have not seen a long-haired version of Dylan. I asked Alex after that one pod we did together, and she was like, "Sorry, I don't have any evidence."
She's lying. She's definitely lying.
I know.
It's all saved in her Snapchat files.
So I had nothing there. Can I say this with all due respect to Dylan? Like, is he just out of central casting? Like, there's no, like, you're just a white guy?
With all due respect, Mr. Denton, I said with all due respect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Dylan's the generic. He's the generic we character that they have when you're playing. I like that. I think that's fair.
Dylan's creative player. I think for you, I'd go some type of wily veteran that has like a little flip at the end of their hair, maybe a little bit.
Play on my age. That's nice.
I know.
I was thinking like a young David Beckham, but it's okay.
You constantly forget that this podcast is now being recorded video-wise too. So you saying that, and now people are going to actually see.
This was Google Teams. I could do some blonde filters and everything like we did back in 2009.
Exactly. I don't know, man. Like, there's got to be. I want to think back to when, and again, I'm looking at these pictures of Beckerman, when we had the uniforms that had the blue with the white strip here and the red bottom. There had to be someone on that team that we could say, like, all right, this is Nick. It'll come to us.
It's okay, yeah. Let's just let it happen. It'll happen as it goes.
But Dax McCarty, like I said, I'll take that 10 times out of 10 compared to the guy I was compared to earlier this week. We got a pod going. We are going to dive into this weekend's matchups. The relegation picture is now down to 2 teams. The European picture is kind of down to 2 teams for one place, 2 teams for another place. We're going to talk about that as well. And we also know who the champion is. Nick, I'm not going to belabor you with that. We went through that last pod. But first, we just mentioned you're a coach. We just mentioned that you get a unique perspective on sports that, Michael, myself, and Dylan do not get to see just because we don't coach. We had a really wild incident happen this weekend in Spain where Real Madrid was playing Valencia. And again, we're not reporters, and let's be honest, we don't read every piece of journalism and news that comes out on any subject. But from what we saw, essentially they're playing and Vinny is getting abused. He wants to react to it. He does react to it. He's trying to get people thrown out that are violating and abusing him and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, I didn't really get to see what happened, but he gets like choked by the goalkeeper, and then Vinny gets a red card. It's a lot of confusion, but A, I know that you saw it because you sent it to the group chat and we all kind of talked about it a little bit. But B, again, you're a coach. Like, have you been in any scenario situations where you have your own player that is kind of getting abused like this, or there is any type of racism going on within the game that you have to deal with, or you have to help a player kind of persevere through? I was curious to ask.
Yeah, we had back. This was six years ago now. Yeah, we're playing in a county tournament game against this one school. It's kind of like right up the road, and it was always kind of a tense game because me and the coach didn't really get along all too well in previous years or whatever. And the dugout, the home plate, like we're probably 10 feet from the batter's box. Like we're right on top of everything. Where the dugout entrances are and everything. And my pitcher, so my pitcher's black. He's a senior, 3-year starter, good kid. And all of a sudden my catcher just goes, so this goes, we're watching the game, whatever. This kid just goes, "Yo, coach, they're saying stuff in there." And I just think they're just talking trash or whatever. And I'm like, hey, just focus, you're fine. Like, that's all he says. So I'm thinking they're saying like, you suck or, something that teenagers say. They're like, "No, coach, they're saying racist shit." And I go, "What?" And he goes, and so he calls time and says, my catcher calls time, says something to the umpire. And the umpire goes, okay, I'll listen. And now I'm trying to listen. I can't hear anything. And I can look, and my pitcher can definitely hear it. His body language is like he's getting uncomfortable. I'm like, all right, something's happening. But I don't know what it is yet. We get the last out. They come in. My catcher's like, "Coach, they're reciting the Emancipation Proclamation, and they're reciting like different Martin Luther King stuff in like a really sarcastic, like, belittling, degrading manner." I'm like, all right, okay. So I go talk to the umpire. I tell him, I go, "Look, this is what my catcher told me. He's a trustworthy kid. Like, I don't think you make this stuff up, whatever." So my pitching coach handles the pitcher, and he's like, he's fine. He's like, "Oh, I'm fine, coach. I'm good." Okay. So we're listening, and I go over to the coach beforehand. Again, him and I we're cordial, but like we've had some like interesting little moments like the 2 previous years before, whatever. And I said, "Hey man, like this is what my kid's saying. I can't hear anything, but I would recommend just keeping it around. I don't want anybody getting in trouble. Like everyone needs to stop. Like just handle it." And he's like, "They're not saying." I go, I kind of like one of those things. I didn't hear anything. I'm like, I'm just telling you that there's something happening. And I can't hear it. My catcher, my pitcher hear it. This is going to be a problem if you don't stop it. So, they keep going, I guess, a little here and there. The umpire can't hear. Game ends. We lose like 5 or 6-1 or something like that. And the kid, and he's adopted. Him and his brother are adopted. And the parents call me, and they're just like going, obviously the kid's beside himself, whatever. So they give me the whole thing. I write the whole thing up, and I email it to my athletic director and principal and everything. And I called the coach, and I said, "Hey, man, you're going to want to apologize and get ahead of this because I'm telling you the parents are coming for you." Like, I go, and I'm not going to back you. Like, I don't have your back. Like, I'm not, like, I'm doing what I'm protecting my kid, whatever. So this whole thing goes, we have a month investigation. Mm-hmm. And there is a heartwarming story to this, and it ends up in our favor, so don't worry. But, okay. So like a month goes by, and they're saying we're investigating the whole thing, and there's nothing. The parents email me. It comes to a point where I write up a letter to the NAACP, and I'm about to hit send. And the superintendent walks in and talks me off the ledge. Because I was like furious, whatever. So we have a meeting with the superintendent, their whole administration team, their parents, whatever, and they explain this, that, whatever. My superintendent goes, well, Coach Tucker's going to lead the meeting off. And I was like, I'm doing what? Like, totally caught off guard. And I just go, fuck it. I look at their superintendent, I go, you're an embarrassment to education. Just right off the bat. And my principal's face just goes, oh, fuck.
Done this.
She's like, oh, and I'm just like, and our AD just goes, he kind of taps me in the leg, and I go, nah, fuck it. And I just like went for it. Like the fact that this whole thing about how it took you so long is embarrassing, whatever. Yeah. So basically what comes of it is we all shake hands. The only reason why the meeting happened is because we play the next day in the state tournament in the second round. So the whole thing happens, whatever it is. The kid that said it apologized, the whole thing, whatever. So he was hurt, and he said he was just trying to be funny. We come back the next that game. It is the most epic. We win 3-2 in 14 innings. Wow. Bonkers. So my starter goes 7. Their starter goes 7. Now this kid has to come back and pitch. He's all we got. He goes out and throws 7 innings of relief, and we score. In the top of the 14th, sac fly. And their coach is he's such a scumbag. And there's a lot of other things I've found over the years. So there's 2 outs, nobody on. He decides to pinch hit for a kid. Okay, he pinch hits the kid who was making the racial speeches or like the implying the stuff. Mm-hmm. He hasn't had more than 4 at-bats all year. So, and after the game was, hey, coach, I wasn't trying to mess with this kid. And I just look at him and go, fuck you. Okay. And like walk away, So the kid gets the out. The kid, he's 6'4", he's huge. He runs over to me and collapses into my arms, almost takes me out because I'm only like 6 foot, like maybe I was like 205 back then. That'd be nice. But like goes down and like, dude, it was nuts. And then their coach ended up naming that kid their like sportsman of the year, like total just whatever. So yeah, it was pretty wild, man. Like, 'cause that was the first time I've ever dealt with it from a coaching perspective, because I've seen a couple things with the guy I used to coach with. He's Panamanian, like 6'5", like big guy. I've just seen some stuff that we used to go out a lot. Like obviously that wasn't cool. But dealing it with a child was like such a different like. And I mean, Vinny's still what, like 20, like 21. Yeah. Like he's still a kid, like on that stage. Like it's just like it's wild, and man.
That was kind of part of I'll acknowledge first that like we're just 2 white guys on a podcast too.
Yeah,
but
I
think that we're trying to understand best we can, because I think I told you opening this up, I was like, man, I can't even imagine. Like, you put some weird pressures on yourself when you're a high school athlete. You put some definitely when you're a professional athlete, but having that layered on it can't be easy and couldn't be easy. And then you just brought this up, and it honestly didn't come to my brain until you just said it. I was going to say, like, Vinny's professional, like, it's a little bit different, but Vinny's also only, like, 3 years older than that kid probably was.
Yeah, and
like, that's insane.
And he's playing on the biggest stage, and, like, you got all the videos of people, like, I mean, it's wrong in whatever forum you're in, whatever it is, but, like, when it's, like, I don't, like, national, maybe institutional is a better word to use. But like when it's that big, it's just like, as I was joking with you before, like we joke about our one time for like all the Italian leagues, except for Lukaku and all that stuff. Like, dude, Vinny Jr. literally got the red card because he reacted to getting pushed, prodded, pulled, and then basically choked out, and then he finally reacted and like threw an elbow into a guy's chest, and he goes down. Like he had he had like 4 people on him, like So it's like, I like Spain. Like, I've always wanted to go to Barcelona, and all those, like, really, like, I don't know, it's just like, man, like, come on. Like, what are we doing?
What I also was thinking about, too, is, I mean, we're talking about this story that has some gross racism in it, and I'm about to make a comment that is painting with a broad brush, so bear with me here. But I do think when you're here in the U.S., like, and you're a fan of soccer here attracts more open-minded people, in my experience in Ohio, for sure. I think it's more
hipster,
for sure. Let's put it that way. All right, that's a good way to put it. But it is people that want to engage with things that are not where they're from, want to learn, want to understand the world kind of outside of where they're from. Because if you're into soccer, you're not probably. Your gateway drug might have been the MLS, but if you found the other stuff, now you're like, oh, this is way better, right? Like, this is how we have this thing.
Well, there's people better than Dax McCarty?
Yeah, right, exactly. Kyle Beckerman, that's Ronaldo. But it's kind of like interesting to see this on a soccer field and to see this as a fan of soccer, because I've been to an Ohio State game and I've heard some awful shit. Baseball, as your story like has unfolded, like there's some. I mean, the craziest shit I've ever heard at a professional sporting event is a Yankee game, and that's even being in the liberal bubble of New York and whatnot. Like it's crazy to see it, and I think it's hard for me to conceive seeing it on a soccer field, because I do still have this preconceived notion that in the U.S., if you're going to an NYCFC game, if you're going to a Red Bull game, if you're going to maybe not a Philly Union game, Philly people, but I'm just kidding. But if you're going to those games, and if you grew up playing soccer, like there's a lot more acceptance, there's a lot more openness with that crowd than at some other sporting events that we've been to. And then you just have to remember that in these countries, this is baseball and football and basketball and soccer all wrapped up into one, and you still have these like weird fucking situations.
And it's basically your neighborhood club. Like if you know, and obviously Real Madrid and these clubs are huge, but it's like that's your neighborhood. Like that's where you're from. Like so, it's obviously you grow up. It's cultural, institutional. It's a quite literal lifestyle. Like I was watching the Man United guy the other day on TV jump around. I'm like, what a nutbag dancing around TV. I'm like, oh, it's just different. Like it's just different. Like we're across the pond. Like I love it, but like I'm not gonna jump around taunting people, like crazy. But
yeah, I mean, it's put it this way. I loved that when the Cavs won, the guy was climbing on the light post, like doing whatever. But in my head, I was like, I'm pumped. I'm really excited we won, but I'm not, I'm not from Cleveland, like right, like I'm from Alliance, Ohio. But yeah, to your point, the neighborhood aspect of it, brings more to it. I want to say, kind of like we were talking about before, and why I asked you this. Shout out to Ancelotti, although he did the most human thing possible, and like is just trying to sympathize with Vinny and trying to be like, hey, we have your back. I think a lot of his teammates did. I think there's a lot of people. I know that Mbappe and future Manchester United great Neymar came out and supported him as well. Sorry, serious topic, but then I had to get my dig in. So shout out to them, and kind of fuck the Spanish FA. That kind of sucks that I think their initial comment was essentially saying that he shouldn't have engaged, and I know that now they're trying to go back on it and come up with a better comment, but I think deep down that it's disingenuous and just sucks. But I knew you were a coach. I wanted to ask. I mean,
the last thing I'll say is just like I give. Obviously, as you said, we're two white guys doing a podcast. Like I know that like when I'm coaching someone or something, like I definitely get chirpy sometimes, and like it's obviously non-consequential, probably childhood, just competitive bullshit that you get, but like then you add something like obviously more important and serious like that, like how the restraint, like up until that point, like I don't know how this doesn't happen more. Like I'll be honest with you, like I know, like it's just I've mouthed off and for dumber, more elementary juvenile shit than that, like Absolutely. So it's like, so the fact that he wasn't afraid to call him out and go at him, like fucking yeah, man, good for you.
Yeah.
Like I give him, I applaud that. Like at some point, you gotta anything you believe in, you gotta step up for it and stand up for it. So I give him a lot of credit for A, restraining for so long, but B, also just be like, no, enough's enough, man. This is nonsense.
For sure, and I think too. I mean, we got to see the post that he posted today, where this was not an isolated incident. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It didn't just happen in Valencia. I think there was 6 or 7 different stadiums where this has happened, and honestly, too, again, this might be the sheltered two white guys with a podcast talking, but some of the stuff that I saw and heard them say that he posted, I was like, holy shit, like that's insane. And to your point, go ahead.
Do you speak Spanish?
No, but my wife does, and she lived in Madrid and she lived in Sevilla, so we've been talking about it this week as well.
I was hoping someone could translate for me. I just assumed it was really bad.
So the Men in Blazers one, though, if you read the post, they have posted some of the translations at the bottom.
I'll go back and read that.
Go back and check it out. But yeah, I mean, sucks. It's obviously something that this podcast stands against, and obviously, like, wanted to get your perspective just because you get to impact young people's lives, and you've probably gotten to see some pretty hairy and pretty terrible situations and how people have had to persevere through them. So, shout out to Vinny. Last week, didn't want you to score at all. Now I want you to score 75 goals. Like, shout out to him. All right, let's get into it. Packed weekend, full slate, and the picture is getting a lot more clear in the Premier League. We have 1.5, we can even say, not even, maybe 1.4 match weeks left. There's some midweek games this week. Let's run through all of them, and then you and I can kind of just dissect where we want to dissect. First things first, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Brentford 3. Harry Kane opened the scoring in the 8th minute, but it wasn't enough. And Mbeumo in the 50th and the 62nd, and Wissa in the 88th gives Spurs another loss, and a pivotal loss for them because they have dropped out of Europe, and Brentford is hot on their tail. Aston Villa currently sitting in that 7th position. Before I go to the next one, I will say I saw a funny tweet where after City won and they were doing their trophy celebration and whatnot, Laporte was like crying. Now, Aymeric Laporte probably not going to be at City next year. I think he might be going to Barcelona, but could end up anywhere. I did see a Spurs fan screenshotted him crying on the pitch and then retweeted it with, "Come to Tottenham and we'll really give you something to cry about." I thought it was pretty funny. So, but he'd be a great addition to Spurs, to be totally honest. Game 2, Bournemouth 0, United 1. Casemiro, goal in the 9th.
Hater.
We'll get
You're a
to
hater.
it.
You're a
Yeah,
hater.
we'll get-
You're 100% a hater.
Below average goal by Casemiro, let's just say that. But 3 points for Man United. Big 3 points for them as well. Fulham 2, Palace 2. Edouard opened the scoring in the 34th, and then Mitrovic went back-to-back 45th plus 5 with a pen in the first half, and then 61st to give Fulham a 2-1 win, or 2-1 lead, and then Ward closed out the scoring in the 83rd for them to share points. I think these are two teams that are now on the beach. I think Fulham might have had an outside shot to get into Europe if they'd have won this one, but now both of them kind of just playing for shits and gigs. Liverpool 1, Villa 1. Ramsey opened the scoring in the 27th to give Villa a 1-0 lead. Bobby Firmino, in his swan song in Anfield, 89th minute, ties it up for Liverpool. They share points at the end, and I know that it was a tough game for the Reds. Michael was texting me on the side. I'll get to that in a second as well. Speaking of 1-1s, Wolves 1, Everton 1. The two best friends shake hands at the end of this. Hwang opened the scoring for Wolves in the 34th, and then Yerry Mina at the death, the literal death. 9 minutes of stoppage time ties it up for Everton. They get a pivotal point. They are right outside of the relegation zone in 17th, 2 points ahead of Leicester. Forest 1, Arsenal 0. Awoniyi in the 19th minute is the only goal, and the only way you can summarize this one is that Arsenal are just a shadow of any type of football team right now. Brighton 3, Southampton 1. Ferguson in the 29th and the 40th. Elyounoussi in the 58th gives Southampton one back, and then Pascal Gross in the 69th puts it away. Big win for Brighton, who are hopefully
Pretty much.
they've clinched Europe essentially.
They clinched Europe. I'm pretty sure, unless something absolutely epic happens.
Yeah.
They're in Europa.
Yeah, there's a 16-goal difference between them and Villa and them and Tottenham, so something wild would have to happen for them to get caught, and Tottenham can't even catch them because they're on 57 and Brighton's on 61. So, again, we'll get to the big picture here in a minute. City 1, Chelsea 0, Alvarez in the 12th. City had already clinched the Premier League title the night before with Liverpool's loss, but they celebrate hoisting the trophy on Sunday. And then today's match, Newcastle 0, Leicester 0. We don't talk about 0-0s, and we definitely would have had to talk about this one because this is a shocking result. It gives Leicester a little bit of life at the bottom of the table, but it also sealed Champions League for Newcastle, which I got to watch some of the celebration afterwards. Kind of sucked. Eddie Howe was celebrating, having a great time, great season by him, and all that the announcers could talk about is that he probably won't be there in 2 years. It was weird.
What? That's what they were. Well, I jumped in the shower the last 5 minutes after I worked out. I was watching the game. And that's what they were talking about.
It was kind of weird. They're like, there's rumblings that it's a great job by him. Hopefully he can keep him or have him go far in Europe, but he's probably not the guy for the full project. And I was like, man, this guy's done nothing but like had a really great season.
He's a serial winner. Period. Like you put his. I've always been a big Eddie Howe guy, since I'm the only guy that likes the Bournemouth crest in this freaking podcast.
But Newcastle definitely in Champions League seals it, and then Leicester at the bottom. So let's start there. We know our 3 teams in the Champions League. The 4th spot is still up for grabs, but it's up for grabs between you and Michael. And honestly, I'll say this. I'm not going to jinx you. I don't think there is jinxing for you guys. If you don't get Champions League, you did something wrong. Something crazy happened, brother.
This is worse than the Leicester collapse in 2020.
Yeah, like this would be bad.
Yeah, I mean, to think that if we can't put together one draw against a team on the beach and fucking Chelsea, man, like it's just. I think, yeah, that's I gotta think. With Newcastle drawing, you can kind of sell it like, hey, let's go finish 3rd. Then I can be like, yeah, I told you they were a lock, Mm-hmm. But having Varane back is a nice, and Lindelof's been great since he's there. But we still don't have a striker because Tony looked like he was mean mugging like I've never seen him mean mug before, and I was like, yeah, take that fucking sourpuss back across the channel.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think I gotta think United's got to be favorite to probably get 4 points out of these next 2 games. So optimistically, I think we're good. I think obviously Liverpool's fine and Brighton's fine. Like it's just a matter of. Here's a question for you: if you're Spurs, are you better off out of the Conference League? Because it's not even the Conference League; it's the Conference League qualifier.
Yeah, if you recall, too, last year was the first year of the Conference League, and they just didn't take it seriously at all. Like, they kind of wanted to get out. Yeah.
I don't blame them, but I think it's better for them, hey, let's just focus on playing the season, playing the cups. I mean, I think losing that, and I can't decide if it drives up Harry Kane's price or if it cheapens it, because it either drives it up because they need more money, obviously, and there'll probably be a reduction in wages or something like that. They'll need more money to try to buy some players. They don't want to let him go, or they're like, fuck, we got to let him go, and we don't have the money to keep him.
I feel like my perspective would be no Europe has Harry Kane pressuring them to get rid of him.
100%.
And I think that's a better case scenario for, like, if we think Man United's going to make a run at him, I think you guys are in a better scenario that way. I feel like you guys should be hoping they don't make it into Europe at all. Now, I think Harry Kane's going to do that regardless, because who wants to play in the Conference League outside of Aston Villa, Brentford, those 2 teams? Like, I don't know, man. Like,
Brentford could make it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the least of Tottenham's worries is getting into the Conference League right now. Like, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest fact I learned about Spurs is that they're not the biggest bottlers, like, of everything. Remember that video? My friend sent me that. I was like, oh my God, like, it's Arsenal. Like, it's Arsenal. Yeah. And Spurs really, it's Spursy. That's just, it's not a bottling. It's just who you are. Like, it's just,
it's like you can't fuck up the dance if you don't go to it. Spurs don't go to the dance.
No.
Arsenal goes to the dance and then fucks it up.
Or if you go to the dance and just sit in the corner and don't even try, like, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Totally important and serious question. Goal of the season for you guys, Casemiro?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. My friend literally texted me goal of the season, like, right after that happened. Like, get out of here with this 6.7 crap. Like, I mean, come on. Yeah. I'm like,
I think I gave it a 5.8 actually, and that was really mean.
Whatever it was never enough. Like, whatever Gundogan was better because he actually trapped it. He actually received it. But this one's just if that's a 10, this is like an 8. I think I said like an 8.5 or something like that. Yeah. Like, that's an absurd finish still.
It was, but
yeah. I needed to hear those words from your mouth You know, because I knew you were giving me a hard time. But I'm like, I'm getting John to admit this in the internet, so it's permanently there forever.
So we talked. I think we both think United's getting Champions League. Liverpool, Brighton with the Europa. With Villa, the last game of the season that you have is Brighton, which will be very interesting. I think now with Brighton being able to clinch that they are basically in Europa League, like they may not be going full force there. Tottenham's last game of the season is Leeds. That bodes well for them, right? And then if we have to even open it up to Brentford, their last game of the season is... Why is this not opening? Brentford's last game of the season is City, which I knew because I'm a City fan.
Arsenal stan, City fan.
Yeah, exactly. With that knowledge, and I know we're going to talk about this, you were going to ask, like, what type of City team is actually going to come out for these next 2 games. Where do you think this is going to end up? Where, like, who is going to get this last spot? I think, again, we just made fun of Tottenham, but based on what's left, a Leeds 3 points is more apt. But Leeds is still trying to battle to get out of the relegation zone, so, like, are they have to show up, right?
I think they did show up last week. It kills me because we just got our friend into it, and he picked Leeds, and he's gonna be sitting with Barb on the couch watching 46 games. You know, they should get their own championship podcast. But
I offered it to Barb. I don't know if you listened to the last couple pods. I've been saying it on here, Barb, and she's hit me up. But she did say something the other week that Dylan was like, "This is out of Barb's character." She was like, "I need a new team."
Well, she was on the phone with me. And I wasn't. Yeah. I think I was coming home from a game or something, and I'm like, "Mom, they're recording. Text that to Dylan right now."
So, I mean, it's wild to say this. I think Tottenham gets it.
I don't think so. I think Tottenham. I think Villa wins. They're not going to win by 16 goals. I think Brighton, as long as they don't get smoked by City. Mm-hmm. I mean a 6 goal. I mean they're not mathematically, obviously they're not in, but like they're in, you know?
Yeah.
I can't see them unless they're sitting there like, hey, we want to finish above. If they happen to beat City, like they want to get above Liverpool, like that's just something you can hang your hat on there a little bit. Yeah. But I can't see.
Put it this way though, if they lose to City 6-0, they would still have to lose to Villa 5-0. Because the goal differential is going to go 1-1-1-1. Yeah. Like, and that's not going to happen. Like, it's just that won't.
No.
So
I think the bigger question about Brighton is are they going to, how many of these guys? I mean, McAllister's gone. Cancedo's got to be gone, right? And because they got Champions League teams one after him, but I think there's a chance. Obviously, with Spurs, I can't see Leeds beating Spurs. I can't see Spurs. I shouldn't say can't. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't expect it to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did. Yeah. But before we move down south to the bottom of the table, where a lot of these teams are geographically, it's actually a great geopolitical comment on myself. Nice job, Nick. Great job.
Yeah.
Big season for the North.
Big time.
Big time for is footy getting dominated again by the North? Like I don't know if I've ever looked at it like this before, but you got 4 of the top 5 are all North clubs.
Since we've had this podcast, it's Liverpool, it's City, it's United in the top 3 usually. I think there was just that one season that they weren't. And then the only shout that London has had traditionally has been Chelsea. No, it's been Chelsea.
Oh no, you're right. Never mind. Well, I'm just thinking I'm thinking of the objective fact of not this hockey assist bullshit. Like real stats that people actually look at.
Yeah, okay. For sure. Jack Grealish, still top 5. This is all inside jokes. That
top 5 Cavs. Top 5 Cavs. Top 5 handsome player in the league. If everyone's curious, they want John wants you all to know that he leads the league in a stat that they don't actually keep.
Hockey, I think that...
That is the most Yankee fan bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
I'm not a Yankee fan.
Exactly. You're acting like one. And I am a
here.
Yankee fan, and you're acting like one right now.
The best Yankee fan comment ever was last season when they were playing the Guardians in the playoffs, and I just kept hearing my friends that are Yankee fans saying, like, they don't even hit home runs. And I just was like, you can score other ways, brother. Like, anyway, to your point, yes. I think that and again, I'm not going to give the full backstory to the listener because we'll be here forever, but Jack Grealish is pretty damn good at soccer. The rest of the podcast thinks he's good too, just not as good as I do, and we'll leave it at that.
Dude, I was a really good inbounder on the baseline when we were going up the court in basketball in high school too. I was really good at passing it to the point guard. I was really good.
Yeah. Anyway, I think you might be right. I know I mentioned Tottenham. I think Tottenham will get 3 points, but I think Aston Villa will somehow come away with this, just because I think Brighton's going to have those players swan-song it out on their last one. They'll probably maybe sub them off at halftime or something like that.
Who's home in that match?
Oh, great question.
It's at Villa.
So it's not even going to be that. I can see them not even playing them, just because they want to retain that value in the offseason. Imagine if one of them gets hurt and they can't sell them. That'd be terrible for them. Because they're going to get that money and invest it so smartly.
They'll figure it out.
Let's go to the back nine of the table here. There's one position still up, or kind of two positions still up for grabs, I guess. You got Leeds, you got Leicester, and you got Everton battling it out for the 17th spot. Everton is currently sitting there on 33 points with a negative 24 goal differential. Leicester in 18th with 31 points, negative 18 goal differential. Leeds 19th, 31 points, negative 27 goal differential. I honestly didn't even have to mention the goal differential because however this shakes out, no one's going to be able to tie with Everton, essentially. But I guess they could if both Leicester and Leeds somehow win. Let's go through who these guys got. Everton, Leicester, Leeds. Everton is playing Bournemouth on the last day of the season. Bournemouth's safe, not really playing for anything, has no chance of being relegated, obviously. Leicester playing West Ham in a very similar situation to Bournemouth. And Leeds, as we just mentioned, is playing Tottenham. What's going to happen, Nick?
Well, Leeds is going down. I will guarantee that.
Okay. I agree.
I was watching today's game, and I was just like, God, I was like waiting for it. It was like watching my girls' high school team when we play any like the Catholic schools around us. We would just sit back in a 5-4-1 and hang on for dear life. They'd have about 9 million shots, and then like the last 5 minutes, I'd be like, fuck it, just go for it. It doesn't matter if we lose anyway. Ty doesn't get us shit. So I was just like, I think Leicester has the best chance to win because you got to think West Ham is sitting guys because they're not going anywhere. They obviously have a chance at a mid-major trophy.
Mid-minor, maybe.
Mid-minor,
it's called a mid-minor trophy.
It's like winning. It's like winning the Sun Belt Conference or something.
But I will say, careful what you say here because there's a chance United might end up in 7th next year. You never know.
We've been there, done that, baby. But yeah, I think that it's. I think Everton between Leicester and Everton definitely has the tougher game just because Bournemouth seems to want to keep momentum rolling and everything. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna take I'm gonna make Michael happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because he ain't gonna make Champions League, so you got to give him some love.
Mm-hmm.
Leicester's gonna pull it out. Everton's gonna draw, and it's gonna be goal differential that's gonna put him down. I know I reversed on Hank from a few weeks ago, but I can't see my mom unhappy. Can't see Barb unhappy.
You don't want to see Barb unhappy.
No.
Hank can handle it. He's going to be a dad anyway. What's the chance? Yeah, well, actually, he'll be up early watching all these games next season for sure because that kid will probably be up at 4. Sidebar, listeners can tell that I had no math after my sophomore year of high school because the goal differential actually is pretty huge here. As you just stated, if Everton tie any one of these teams wins, then it becomes an issue. So I'm an idiot, 1. 2, Is this the first week that you've had Everton getting relegated?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Because you know I love Sean Dyche, and
yes, yeah. Me too.
I
I'm an apologist.
you know what it is? I want to see. You know what? This is a long-term play for Sean Dyche here. I want to see him go down to the championship with Everton. They got to keep him around, and they got to keep him around. Like, what better manager are you going to get to know how to do the whole thing? And he's just going to go on an absolute run. And Everton's going to be a wagon down there, and they're going to be right back up.
All right,
give him a little glory.
Everton. I'm right there with you. I think that, like, you know, getting to know your mom over the past 2 years, the exuberance that woman showed at your brother's wedding, like she's just one of those people that you don't want to see him have a bad day, you know? Like, you're just like, man, I don't want to see a clown cry. Not that she's a clown, but it's like those type of visuals that you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I can't see Barb. I can't see Barb sad. I think I'm going to agree with you. Everton in 18th, Leicester stay up. And the next question, if that happens, is what do they do next year? Because I think that if there's, of all three of these teams, if there's one team that actually needs the phoenixing type of scenario where they have to go down and reinvent themselves, I actually think it benefits Leicester way more because they have so many people that they need to get rid of and so many people that they got to move. And if they had to go down, it would force their hand a little bit more. And I think it's honestly...
Yeah. You sell James Madison, Yuri Tielemans, like all these guys that have, the last 2 seasons, it's like, oh, big money move, and it's just never really happened because you had Brendan Rodgers and you thought that could always, but they've always been kind of lingering.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a really good point too. So, maybe it's, it's 1 step back, 2 step forward.
It's just in my head. If you stay up and you're at 17th next season, you need the type of recruitment. Leicester needs the type of recruitment that Brighton's been able to do, or even like a Bournemouth's been able to do, or even a Forest. Like, think of it this way. It's wild that Forest is staying up. They've had 85 players play for them this season, essentially. Now, I don't know if that number is accurate, but it feels like it. If you go down, you're getting the parachute payment, you got to sell these players, you have a little bit more money to work with, and your recruitment has to be championship level to stay up or maybe go back up. It doesn't need to be at the point where a lot of these Premier League teams are. So I think Leicester stays up, but in the end of the day, is it worse for them? Is a weird question to ask, I guess.
Since we're down there, I would just like to throw out, I don't know if we're going to do some postseason awards or anything like that. I honestly don't remember from last year if we did. But if we did, I don't really think we had this award. I want to announce the loser of the season award.
Yep.
For the FA, it's not even going to be just the Premier League. Nathan Jones, loser of the year. Yep. Guy leaves second place Luton Town in the championship to come up to manage Southampton for a glorious 14 games.
Yep.
Gets sacked. Don't know what he's doing right now. And Luton's 1 game away from, playing in what do they call it? The most expensive game in football, or the most, whatever the hell they call it. Like right there. Like, had a great season in the championship. And he's going to have to watch that and be like, yeah, I screwed it up.
We also, pro Luton pod. I don't think anyone on this pod's pulling for Coventry. I think this is all Luton all day.
Didn't even know they were in the Premier League before this, but like, were they the one I sent you guys? They were in the National League in 2000. They won the National League in 2014.
Yeah.
Like, less than a decade ago, they were Wrexham, which is absolutely freaking bonkers.
Brighton's had a meteoric rise too. I think we might have sent this around, but since Daniel Levy took over at Tottenham, Brighton went up from like League 2 to the Premier League, and now they're in Europe.
Look at this.
So
they went to 10-11. They went third. This is the National League. 3rd, 5th, 7th, 1st. Win it. They go up to League 2. 8th, 11th, 4th, 2nd. They go up in 18-19 to League 1. They win it in 1 year. Then they finish 19th, 12th, 6th, 3rd. Like, awesome. Freaking, like we're all in on Luton Town.
Yeah, we're hatters. I think their logo's a little hat or their little crest. So we're in on that.
Oh, there is a little corncob looking little top hat. Yeah, it's like you're about to go to the sell at the market. You're gonna go.
Yep. You're an
125,
auctioneer.
125. That's there we go. Thank you. I couldn't think of a word right there.
I got you. The little assist, good inbound pass from you. That's what we call.
So good at it.
That's what we call a callback. We did do end of the season awards last year, and we're going to get to it now. Let's just do two quick ones. Like, give me your like, not a power ranking, but like who's going to be in consideration for this team of the season? Like overachieving. I don't want to hear City. They won it. That's fine. I want to see like what team actually was like, damn, this shocked you. Some of your candidates there, and then worst showing not to get relegated. I think we got to wait obviously a week for that, but based on our predictions, that's going to be Leicester, I would think. But who would get second in that one?
Oh, Chelsea.
Exactly. That's the problem. I think we're going to have a consensus on a lot of these ideas with this podcast, but Chelsea
shocking positive finish of the year. I got to say, first off, first time since 17-18, all three promoted teams stay up.
Yep, saw that as well.
Shocking.
A lot of candidates actually. Like,
I gotta say Villa. I think Villa's the shocking positive.
Came out of nowhere. I mean, Unai Emery, in all honesty, should probably win Manager of the Year. He made the biggest moves in the least amount of time. Insane what he did. But it's hard to ignore, like, Fulham finished 10th getting promoted last year. Or this year. Like, they're a newly promoted team, and they finished 10th, and we forget that because they go up and down so much. Yeah. But, like, great showing by them. I think the best run organization now, you'd have to say, like, Brighton.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, it's hard to go against City, but, like, if it's not City, it's Brighton. Man, look, we made fun of Arsenal.
It can't be City best run. Come on, they committed 274. They committed more fraud than Ivan Toney did.
Well, yeah, but we got best legal department. That's another thing coming up.
Hey, by the way, real quick, I want to rescind my most disappointing, most shocking not to be relegated. Frank Lampard getting a second job at Chelsea. Not even Chelsea, just Frank Lampard getting hired again.
Yep. Oh shit. I just totally screwed something up. We're fine. I think it's hard. We've made fun of Arsenal so much. But, like, it's a good season, man. I've seen some people want to fire Arteta because of how they ended. You're an idiot. Do you know how hard it is to get a good coach in this league? Like, wild. So, that's all I'll say. All right, let's do our midweek predictions. There's a few games that are coming up. You got Brighton hosting Man City. You've mentioned it. What Man City team are we going to get? And then you have United hosting Chelsea. Consequential in the sense that you just got to get a point to secure Champions League. Mm-hmm. Who do you got in both these ones?
I got to draw Brighton City. I think Brighton's going to show up, and I think City's going to have a little bit. I think they're definitely there's going to be some heavy rotation. And again, Haaland won't get to 40 goals, so he's a flop. And then I don't like saying it, but I think United wins. I think this is I still can't get the fact that it's still Chelsea. They have all that freaking talent on there, but I gotta take United in this one.
Yeah,
United gets 4, but I'm gonna take them to get 6 over the next week.
I got United for sure in this one. I was watching, obviously, the City game this weekend. I've never seen anyone be as fast as Mudryk and do nothing. Fast as fuck. So fast.
Have you ever seen D2?
Oh, true.
Yeah.
What was that name? Rancher?
No,
we always fuck this up.
It wasn't the Rancher. It was...
No. Yeah.
They put all the soda cans in front of the goal and stuff.
Yep. Very good point. He figures it out at the end, though.
He does.
I don't know if Mudryk's going to figure it out, and it's tough for Chelsea. You weren't on the pod the last couple weeks, but I did mention that my soccer team is mostly Chelsea people, and I was talking to him, and I was like, the fact that Rudiger left is wild. Like, you guys, what were you thinking? How did you let him go? Like, that type of thing. Obviously, he probably wanted out and wanted to leave, but Mudryk, just insane. I saw him move. It's like a light speed, and then nothing happens. I got United in this one, and I'm going to stick with City, obviously. Like, I don't know. Pep doesn't like to lose. Doesn't matter what the scenario is, what the consequences is. Pep doesn't like to lose. Nick, welcome back, dude.
It's good to be
2
back.
weeks.
Yeah, I missed you guys.
2.5. Yeah.
Well, just you, not the other guys.
Of course. If I would have been on this one, it would have been just them, too. Do you have a joke? I don't have a joke. I usually like to leave this. You got one? Okay, perfect.
You're locked inside a car with nothing but a soccer ball. How do you get out? Unlock the door and pull the handle. Cheers.
The NAFTA podcast.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.